Manchester City just signed a 22-year-old winger, Allan. Yes, that's how you pronounce his name. It's Allan, not Allan, even though sometimes I might say Allan. Anyhow, they signed him for a lot of money, like millions and millions of euros. We're going to talk about that throughout the video. And then I noticed that most Manchester City fans don't know anything about this player. They started to pull up his stats and just say, this guy is complete dog crap. And the stats can be, and honestly, they kind of are, very much misleading. I'm going to address that throughout the video, why they are misleading. But the question still remains. Who is Allan? Was this a good signing for Manchester City? Did they overpay? Was it a good deal for Palmeiras? What's his player profile? We're going to talk about all of that. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Chapéu Football. And listen, we cover a lot of Brazilian football. Right? I also watch a lot of the Premier League. I watch it quite a bit. On top of that, I'm a Palmeiras fan. I am literally the perfect guy to talk about Allan and his move to Man City. And you watching this video, you're the perfect guy or girl to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done that already, just do it. It's a great way to support us for free. So just drop a like in this video right now and subscribe. And this video is perfect also for Brazilian national team fans because Allan will very likely be called in by Carlo Ancelotti in the near future. And if you're a Manchester City fan, this is also the perfect video for you. Okay, so let me know your thoughts about this transfer in the comment section down below. If you're a Palmeiras fan, do you think things will work out? I'm going to do a deep dive into everything. I'm going to talk about his stats, his playing style, why he will or will not fit with Manchester City, the transfer fee, everything about Allan, okay? That's all. Drop a like, let's roll the intro, and start the episode. Okay, so first and foremost, we have the here we go from Fabrizio Romano here. Breaking news, Man City has reached a verbal agreement with Palmeiras for Allan, and here we go. He said it. The new winger will be under Enzo Maresca, their coach right now, for a fee worth 40 million euros, okay? So from what I've gathered in the Brazilian press, it's 37.5 million euros fixed and 2.5 million is bonuses. So the total is 40 million, but the fixed fee is 37.5, which this is not a small transfer by any means. Like, look at this. So these are the biggest transfers in the history of Palmeiras, right? Players leaving Palmeiras, to be more specific. Endrick is still number one at 47.5 to Real Madrid. Then you have Estevão to Chelsea for 45 million. And then you have Vitor Reis and Gabriel Jesus, both of them that also went to Man City. Gabriel Jesus was 32 million euros, and then Vitor Reis was 37 million euros. He's right now with Man City, right? He was on the bench for the first Premier League game. Vitor Reis, a very talented center back, okay? I think over the long run, Man City fans are going to love him. But anyhow, so right now as it stands, Allan would be the third biggest transfer fee in Palmeiras history in terms of departures, right? Or in general, actually. I don't think they've ever bought a player for more than like 25 million euros, which was probably Vitor Roque when he came back from Barcelona. So with that said, one thing that is interesting is Palmeiras actually made more money with Allan than Estevão, because they only owned 70% of Estevão when they sold him to Chelsea, while Allan, they actually own 90% of it. So we could say that he was a more lucrative sale than Estevão. But now let's talk about this. And I know many of you are interested in the player profile of Allan, right? If you're a Man City fan, like, how does he play? Like let's talk about this guy a little bit. As you can see his heat map, he's always on the right side of the field. Under Abel Ferreira, he plays as a right winger, but honestly, sometimes he looks like a right wing back. He tracks back a lot. He has 4 goals and 3 assists in 19 starts and 21 games for Palmeiras in the Brazilian League this season, which, looking at these stats on its own, the rating is good, the FootMob rating, but take those with a grain of salt. These stats make it look like he's not a good winger, not a good forward. It's like, where are the goals? Where are the assists? And we're going to talk about that because it is true, right? This 22-year-old winger, he's 5'9", he's left-footed, plays on the right, likes to cut inside. The question is, why are his goal contributions so low? He plays for a top team in Brazil that was in the Libertadores final last year. They lead the league this year. They're still alive in the Brazilian Cup. They're still alive in the Libertadores. Why are his goal contributions so low? There's multiple explanations for that. And I think the best way to go about it, I'm going to go back to this here on FootMob in a second to show stats, is to show what Abel Ferreira, the Palmeiras coach, has to say about Allan. I think the way he describes him is great, but the reason he has very low goal contributions, a little bit is on Allan himself, and he does have to improve in the final third. But a lot of it has to do with the haram ball that Abel Ferreira has Palmeiras playing. Palmeiras is a team these days that they play some very ugly football. Very often they're long ball merchants. They give the ball to Gustavo Gomes and he just goes long. It's very ugly. Anyone that watches Palmeiras on a regular basis knows this. This is a very rich Brazilian team with a lot of talented players, and they win games. So credit to Abel Ferreira right there. And I actually like Abel. I like him a lot. But they play very ugly football. And this is what he had to say about Allan more specifically. Abel Ferreira on Allan, Palmeiras and Manchester City. He's saying these teams want a player like Allan because 90% of the wingers don't do what he does, which is attack and defend. Look at that. Defend. That's very important. We're going to dive into that in a second. They're going to have to pay. I know how Manchester City plays. I do as well. At Chelsea, there's a player named Pedro Neto. If they want to go after him, they're going to have to pay 100 million euros. Top teams don't buy half a player. They buy players who attack and defend, like Allan. He's capable of covering the entire flank, a line of three on the outside, on the inside. Everyone wants these players. What is he saying here about Allan more specifically? This is a player that does a lot of the work off the ball, okay? And a good portion of the game is played off the ball. I would argue most of the game is played off the ball, right? How much time does the player have on the ball when it comes to a game? It's not a lot. Even the players that get a lot of touches. Allan, for any scout out there that has watched him, he sees that. This guy defends as well as a fullback. He's a very good defender, right? He tracks back very well. He's much more intense than an Estevão, for example. And again, that is one big aspect of his game that doesn't show up when I show you goal contributions for Allan, right? The other reason why his goal contributions are so low, there's a few reasons, right? One is how Palmeiras plays. The way Palmeiras plays, it's very hard for the wingers to get a lot of goal contributions. Look at many other talented wingers that they have, like John Arias, for example, and all these guys. It's hard because you have to do so much running, so much of the dirty work. And people are going to say, well, Estevão was getting goals and assists. The thing is with Estevão, he has played many times as a 10 central for Palmeiras when he was there. He sometimes will play out wide, but if you go back even to the Chelsea game in the Club World Cup, Estevão was playing central. Allan was playing on the right wing, and I forgot who was playing on the left wing. I think it was Facundo Torres at that point. But let's go through his stats real quick because I want to show this. And people are going to ask, a lot of them are comparing him to Estevão. He's a completely different player from Estevão. I think Allan might be a player that arrives in the Premier League more ready than when Estevão arrives. Because he's also older. He's 22. Estevão arrived there when he was like 18. So I think he's more ready for the Premier League. He's much more intense than Estevão. He does a better job tracking back, pressing when you need. He's not as talented as Estevão. Estevão will give you more goals, more assists. But I'll tell you one thing. I think Allan's a better dribbler. He can beat players on 1v1 much better, much more effectively than Estevão, than Endrick. The only problem is that final ball with Allan, okay? Which I'm very curious to how he will look when he plays for Man City. A team that doesn't play haram ball like Palmeiras does. They actually play proper football, in my opinion. Okay, even without Pep Guardiola. And on top of that, he's going to have Erling Haaland to feed. So his goal contributions will probably go up. And he'll do a lot of the dirty work for Man City. I think he can be a more effective right winger than Phil Foden. He's definitely going to be better than Savinho, in my opinion. Okay, and I've watched a lot of Savinho for Girona, Man City, that I don't think he did that well. But let's go to his stats real quick. So when you look at his shooting stats or offensive stats, goals, expected goals, XG on target, everything. First and foremost, the first thing that catches my attention is here. His expected goals is 2.4. His goals is 4. All right? That means the finishing is not the problem. He's overperforming his XGs, his XG stats. All right? So that means Palmeiras is not creating enough chances for him, or maybe off the ball, he's not making the right runs to create chances for himself, which honestly, he can do that. I think it's more Palmeiras doesn't really create that much for the players on the flank because of the way Palmeiras plays. So finishing is not the problem. If Man City creates opportunities, this guy will get you goals. Very much unlike Savinho, that doesn't really score that much, right? Shots on target, he had 15 out of 36 shots. You can all see, like, compared to everyone else in the league, he's like in the 90th percentile, 89th, 81, 84 percentile, 78th. He's doing well on offense, right? The other thing I want to show you guys very soon is the Brazilian league. The stats are not inflated. Like the top goal scorers of the Brazilian league, they score a lot less goals than the top goal scorers of the Premier League. That's not me taking a hit on the Premier League or downplaying the Brazilian League or saying the Brazilian League has incredible defenders. That's not what I'm saying. It's just a fact, right? It's just data that's backing me here. And don't forget to drop a like in this video if you guys haven't done already. When it comes to passing, among wingers or players in his position in the Brazilian League, he's on the 83rd percentile with 3 assists this season so far. So it's actually not that low. He's among the top performers there. Expected assists is about average. Successful passes, he's doing good and all that. Accurate long balls, that doesn't matter. Chances created, he's on the 80th percentile. That's not bad at all as well. Big chances created, just average. So again, the stats are very much misleading. And in the Brazilian league, players don't score as much goals and get as many assists, obviously, because if you don't score as many goals, there's less assists than the Premier League. I'm going to show you that in a second. So relax. The stats, the goal contributions are very misleading. When it comes to successful dribbles, he has 48, and he's in the 99th percentile. He is, to me, the best dribbler in Brazil right now. Well, he's leaving now, right? Going to England. But in the Brazilian league, actually in South American football in general, to me, he is the best, or was, because he's gone, right? He's going to England, the best dribbler. So he tries a lot of dribbling attempts, and he has 48 successful dribbles, almost 60%, which is incredible, right? Very good. 60%, 48 successful dribbles. He's among the top dribblers in the league. Duels won, 122, which is also 98th percentile of the league. Like I said, he tracks back, he wins his duels, he's very intense. And people are going to say, well, the Brazilian league, it's not the Premier League. Guys, the Premier League is better than the Brazilian league, but the Brazilian league is pretty damn good. It's right there at the top 5 leagues in the world. It's a very comparable level these days to France without PSG, very comparable to the Serie A. Yeah, it's below the Premier League, but if you do very well in the Brazilian league, you have very good odds of doing well in the Premier League as well, especially with players that have the same attributes as Allan. Intense players, right, that are very good on 1v1, can draw you fouls, tracks back, right? A lot of athleticism. Aerial duels won. He wins also most of them for his position and all of that. But here's the thing where he succeeds. Look at this. Look at his defending stats, right? He's in the top of the top for everything in his in Brazilian league. And then you're going to say, not for fouls committed. He commits a lot of fouls. Yes, he does commit a lot of fouls. He's very intense, as I said. So the stat right there for fouls committed, 25, it looks really bad because he commits a lot of fouls. Yes, he does commit a lot of fouls. He'll be okay in the Premier League because you can be a little bit more physical in the Premier League than in Brazil. They won't call these fouls. They won't do it. Interceptions, he's one of the best in the league in his position. Tackles, defensive contributions, he's on the 90th percentile. Recoveries, look at that too, 89th percentile. Dribbles passed, he got a lot of dribbles passed, that is true. Does a lot of tracking back, but again, he's not a defender. That's probably somewhere he can probably improve. Maybe it's because also the fouls. Clearances, 12, also among the best. Clean sheets, that's not really entirely on him. And then when it comes to discipline, yeah, he gets yellow cards, he gets red cards more than, well, he got 1 red card, right? But he gets more cards than most of the players in his position. Because again, I do think when it comes to the Brazilian League and the Premier League, the Brazilian League is a little bit more soft. They call a lot of fouls. The Premier League is much more physical. And I think that's good for him because of how he plays. And let me show you guys one thing right here. When I talked about like how in the Premier League, players just naturally get more goals and goal contribution. So look at this. Last year in the Premier League, Erling Haaland had 27 goals. Igor Thiago had 22. Semenyo had 17. Ollie Watkins, 16, 15. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players with more than 15 goals, right? 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players. If you go to the Brazilian League, for example, you're just going to see that it's lower. You're going to say, oh, it's not that much. It makes a big difference, right, in terms of goal contribution. So look at this. The Brazilian League last year, sorry, that's 2025. Yeah, 2025. So Caio Jorge had 21. Haaland had 26. That's already 6 goal contributions less. Then Arrascaeta had 18. They only had 3 players. That's half. Only 3 players above 15 goals. Only 3. That's it. A lot less stat padding going on in the Brazilian league. I don't really know the actual reason for that, but it's not just that. Like if you go back to like 2024, look at this, the Brazilian league in 2024. The top goal scorer had 15 goals, Yuri Alberto. The second one had 15, and then you had Estevão with 13. Right, like I said, Estevão was much more polished in the final third, much more talented than Allan. But look at that. The goals are very low. 15, 15, 13. So when you wonder why does Allan get less assists in general, because that will be his main thing, right? He's not going to be a goal scorer by any means, more of an assist guy, even though he can score goals. Just look at the difference. Look at 2 seasons ago in the Premier League. Salah had 20. The season that Brazil had the top 2 goal scorers with 15, Salah had 29, Isaac 23, Haaland 22, Chris Wood 20. Look at that. We have to go all the way down to Mateus Cunha with the Wolves to hit 15 with Cole Palmer. So players just score more goals in the Premier League in general. That has to be said. And like I said, many asking, why did Man City sign him? He's replacing Savinho. That's the reality. Allan will replace Savinho. And to anyone that's saying that, comparing him to Estevão, like I said, I think he's much more built physically than Estevão because he's older. He tracks back better. He's more physical, more intense. I think he's better than Estevão on 1v1s. But when it comes to that final ball, the assist, the finishing, Estevão's more talented. Allan is not a generational talent, but this can be a very good Premier League player. And I want to tell you guys, before I tell you my opinion of how I think this will play out, I want to just show you guys one thing. This game right here, you guys can go watch it if you want, if you're a Man City fan. Palmeiras 4, Liga de Quito 0. This was a comeback win from Palmeiras in the semifinals of the Libertadores last year. They lost the first game 3-0. This, to me, was the best performance I've seen from Allan in his career. And that's one of the best performances I've seen from a player in club football in my entire life. It was unbelievable. And you're looking here, he got no goals. He got no goals in this game, but he was the man of the match. He was unreal. He got an assist. He won a penalty kick, and he broke the record in this game for most completed dribbles in a Libertadores knockout game with 10. 10. Most dribbles completed in a Libertadores knockout game. And mind you, look at the list of players that have played in the Libertadores, right? You had Diego Maradona playing in the Libertadores. You had Neymar, Ronaldinho. You had all these guys. And the record holder is Allan with 10. When it comes to dribbling ability, this guy is unbelievable. Believe me. Believe me. He is simply incredible. Okay? He's better than Savinho. He's better than Savinho. So what's my opinion on this? I think Man City got a very good deal here. They sold Savinho for what, twice? Or more than twice what they paid for Allan. I think he's a better player. He's a little bit younger than Savinho, a little bit younger. At worst, I think he'll provide what Savinho did. I think at worst. He's not going to be a player that's going to single-handedly win you games on a consistent basis. This is not Erling Haaland. This is not Neymar. Okay, this is not Vinicius Jr. This is not a generational Brazil talent, but this is very much a possible world-class Brazil talent. He'll very likely be in the Brazilian national team very soon. I think he's capable of starting for a Premier League contender like Manchester City. I think they are Premier League contenders. They're not the favorites to win the Premier League this season, but they're definitely Premier League contenders. And I think he can help. I think he can do a better job on the right wing than Savinho was doing. I think he can do a better job in the right wing than Phil Foden does when he plays there. So the Man City fans that are skeptical and they were hating on the signing, saying you're paying too much for an unproven player that doesn't get a lot of goals, doesn't get a lot of assists. I think he might surprise you. I think he might surprise you. I hope I'm right. I'm rooting for this guy. I'm not a Man City fan, but I hope he does well for Man City. I hope they do well with him. I just think that a lot of the hate that Allan was getting was because people just looked at stats. They never really watched him. Okay, go watch the highlights of Palmeiras versus Liga de Quito, LDU, in the Libertadores semifinal second leg that I showed you, the game. Go watch that. That is the perfect game for you to see what Allan can do. He steals the ball, dribbles past the player. You'll see that he can track back. He can beat his man. He can draw fouls. He can get assists in certain occasions, right? That final ball is still missing. But I want to see how he does with Erling Haaland. Those assists might go up. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go. If you want more videos like this, let us know. We'll gladly do more videos about any South American prospect that you like. That's all for today. Okay, share this video with your mom, dog, cat, or that person that you don't like, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're a Man City fan, are you excited? If you're a Palmeiras fan, are you upset that he has left Palmeiras? Even though for Palmeiras, just to close this video, this was a very good deal. This is a very good sale. This guy's a 22-year-old player. Very soon it will be hard to get a lot of money for him. And Palmeiras needed a sale to balance their books right there. Palmeiras loses a key player for the rest of the season, but this was needed. Palmeiras needed this. Okay. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe, like the video, and that's all for today. Ciao.